Good morning, everybody. My name's Clive Dickin. I'm the NASC CEO. I'll be taking you through today's webinar, which we're obviously looking at the NASC Members Charter. Jamie and Wayne are joining me today. Jamie's our Head of Business Development and Wayne Conley is Vice President and also Chair of the Membership Clients Committee. Can we just look at the first slide, please, Jamie? Obviously, today is all about the announcement we made a few weeks ago about the changes around the membership charter. Really important news, very, very pivotal to what and how the scaffolding and access sector through the membership of NASC can be recognised by clients. What we want to do is to bring some clarity today. There's a lot of questions I know that is out there. Again, we've made some really positive moves with the charter to bring the focus in and around the quality of scaffolding rather than on business systems. We're also going to go through, obviously, how we're going to market, promote, and why we have a membership standard, because many people say, well, hold on, why have we got to achieve this? And today I'd like to set the scene and look at how we're going to do that. But to be interactive and to make a bit of fun and so that we understand you and what you want from today, we've got a number of polls that we're going to do as we go through the process. And also we've got the question and answer function, which will be available for you. So if you've got questions, please pop them into the questions and answers. And we've got a question section just at the end, and we'll start and actually take those with obviously, hopefully, a prompt finish in sort of 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, can we have the next slide, and we'll start on the poll. So ladies and gents, if you'd like to start clicking, and right, I can see a few questions answered already. These are anonymous, by the way, everybody. No tricks here. We want to get a real flavour for who and what you are, so we can make sure our answers are as wholesome and helpful. Right, so I'll just share the results, and hopefully everybody can see. So yeah, we've got quite a number of members, but a few non-members on today. So great to have some non-members, and I hope our answers will entice you to think about membership. Great to see, obviously, we've got contractors, but equally we've got suppliers, designers, and ultimately clients, which is extremely important as to why. Again, great that you feel that the code is of importance and that you're aware of it. So hopefully today we'll get some good understanding as to what the changes are and they mean to your business. Jamie, can we have the next slide? And now I'm just going to talk a little bit now about why we have membership standards. And you know, many would say, well, hold on, you know, membership organisations, why be a member? What is in it for me? What is it, you know, why have I got to meet with these standards to be a part of NASC? Well, it's actually quite important. And there's realistically 5 key functions of why a membership organisation has standards. Starting with ultimately achievement. The reality of having an organisation or a set of standards means that there is actually the rogue and ultimately the professional organisation. And by the creation of the standard, you create then an audited process that allows, and we need to be really clear about the setting of the standard is different to the audit. And again, that process allows for a standard to be set, but then people to achieve it. We equally, as trade bodies, have to have a degree of independence, partly governed by the Competition Act, which requires us to have an open and transparent approach. But ultimately, that sense of achievement is central to being able to create the standards that define ultimately the industry and the sector. Equally, it allows for that sector to grow. So as technology, business practices change, the standards within that membership organisation change. And that's fundamentally why today we're looking at the charter and why the charter has changed. Equally, with the audit process and the standard, it's all about business growth. It's about clients recognising the quality of the standards and having that really focused independence of checking, of ultimately having an organisation like NASC validating and looking at the contracted business and recommending it. Why? Well, ultimately, the client wants reassurance that there is a quality organisation, one that can produce good quality scaffolding and access, one that is resilient, one that will actually be there through the entire project, will be efficient, effective, and risk reduced. Equally, though, for the scaffolding contracting business, it's about increasing profitability. The brand, the recognition of the actual brand, ultimately means that I'm a quality organisation. We run a quality contracting business. That means that there's a differential as to why. Well, hold on, I'm competing with non-members, I hear. I quite often hear people saying that. Well, that's fine, but they're not the same standard, and it is imperative for NASC to promote it. And we're going to be talking a little later about the marketing and how we produce things to promote to the clients. Equally, when we talk about recognition, it's recognised by government. Health and Safety Executive has been instrumental in the support of publishing SG4. Equally, the standards that we produce actually are yours, the industry's standards. If you don't actually have that by using a membership body like the audit and the charter, you're at risk of ultimately having statutory authorities impose rules on you. So it's inherent that we embrace, engage and support the standards to ensure that there is a quality that lives on that we control within our industry, not by government imposing regulation and rules that are more difficult and draconian and costly to business. Obviously, the standards also dictate our educational prowess, be it apprenticeships, be it the actual way that we take the scissors cards and actually utilise that and bring the recognition. It allows the development of learning, but it also looks at the improvement in health and safety, the sustainability of the sector and technical improvement. You only have to look at the health and safety report that we publish on an annual basis to see the massive improvement and reduction in RIDDORs that NASC members have actually achieved. That is because of the audit. That is because of the standards that are set. Yes, the TG20, the SG4, and all the other 132 or 33 standards that we have out there are important, but they are what are reducing the standard through the audit. Equally, the targeting of actually you building your business, the credibility, the resilience, the development of the value in the overall sector is the overall benefit. The wealth of the sector based on 2021's NAO statistics at 2.5 billion in turnover. If you look at preceding years and factoring out inflation, actually we've seen a sustained growth of over 4% within the actual scaffolding sector. That is largely as a result of the quality and sustainability of NASC members in the audit. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a whistle-stop tour as to why we have a standard, why we have a charter, and the importance of that charter at a macro level. Let's now move to poll 2 before we switch over to Wayne, who's going to talk a little bit about why we have a standard and how that standard's been developed internally within NASC. Okay, so I'll just share the results. So do we think the audit is independent? Oh, we've got a couple of people who feel it isn't. So I think more work to be done in there, Wayne, and perhaps you can pick up on how the independence is going to be dealt with. Fit for purpose, again, recognition that needs updating and somebody who says no. So again, I think it would be really great, those that have said no, if you feel really compelled, love to hear the questions at the end, or if you want to put questions now, please feel free, we'd really love to, but good to see again, a lot of positivity for it. Again, coming then on to what the actual audit should focus on, fairly unequivocal, looking at the quality of the scaffolding contractor, but also very good support also for pragmatic business practice, which shows that longevity. So again, Wayne, I think some really good answers there. Brilliant. Okay, it's my pleasure now to introduce Wayne Connolly just to talk about the committee and ultimately how it works. So next slide, Jamie.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure and an honour, really, for me to be here and to talk to you. I am a contracting member who run my own company. However, I am the current vice president, and the chair of the membership compliance committee. We have a committee that sits probably about 3 times a year, and within that committee we have all the regional heads. So we have the regions, which is Scotland and Northern Ireland now, the north of England and North Wales, the Midlands, the South East and the South West, and the regional chairs that sit on them committees or them regions actually sit on our membership compliance committee. So they're bringing with them your voice. When you have your regions and you want your regional chair to take something back to the main council, and about standards or about the way we do things, then they also can bring it to this committee. And it's a really important committee because we're in charge of the standards and what is important, what's not important. Just to talk through very, very quickly without people's eyes over, is that we used to have quite a long-winded process of anybody joining the NASC. So any new members, we've shortened that process and we've made it a lot easier. And instead of 2 or 3 different stages, which can unfortunately take over 2 or 3 months, can now come down to 4 to 5 weeks. So we've really looked at the way that people want to join us and how they want to join us. And within there, we've also gone away a few years ago, I've got to say. Whereas the elephant in the room was always, yeah, but it's members that choose, other members can join. Well, that's not true. It's absolutely not true. And that's not been true for a good number of years. When I became the chair of the compliance committee, we were instrumental in changing regional chairs that used to go out to new members' offices and on an audit. Well, that stopped. Jamie, that must have stopped about 3 years ago, even before COVID, dare I say. So the process as it is now is people would apply and you would be appointed to an independent compliance officer. And that independent compliance officer works completely with the NASC office team. No member, no regional member, no members whatsoever, including me, get to know who's joining and where they are in the process. And we certainly don't get to decide who wants to join and who doesn't. It's a very simple process. If you meet our standard and our charter, then you will be approved. It's as easy as that. So the process is independent. We use independent auditors who are professionals within the scaffolding industry, who will hold hands of any prospective new member and guide them through the process from cradle to grave. And they are the same compliance officers that on your annual re-audit, so you have a re-audit on the first year, you have it in year 1, a site audit and your office audits and yard audit. And then it's every 2 years thereafter with a desktop audit in between that. And it's the same independent auditors that do that. So completely and utterly the independent. So there's a huge change within the NASC, and that's a myth that we really want to try and get across to you guests today. So why have we done that? Well, the NASC is an independent network of scaffolding contractors, and each one of them is independent to each other. However, we have one common goal: to raise the standards within the industry that we all work in. And the majority of us love working in every single day. And that's what we want to do. We need to be raising that standard and making sure that the standard across the board is at least the minimum standard. A lot of companies go way beyond what the minimum standards are. And that's what we're looking for. And that's why we do what we do, is to raise the standards. So we have a committee, and the committee sits, like I said, 3 times a year. And within there, we have a panel of NASC staff as well as regional chairs, and we then talk about the standards going forward and what we should be doing. And part of that is what comes back considerably from our members is SIPs, CHAS, SMAs, construction line, and how many times that you all have these. And that's one of the things that we're focusing on in the future. Within the NASC with the Common Assessment Standard, and that's why the question was there on the previous poll about the Common Assessment Standard. Is it important to us, and what we're going to do? And that's the future that we believe could be with the future within the NASC, and we're looking closely at it and whether it fits our membership. That doesn't mean that we're saying it does fit. What we're saying, we're looking at it for across the board, to replace all the SIPs and the CHASs and the SMASs and construction lines of this world and what we're doing. So that's in a broad brush of what we do and how we do it, and how independent we are, and how we apply the standard then across the board. So hopefully that's answered some of the questions that was on the poll before on whether we're independent or whether people thought the audit process was independent in what we do. So back to you, Clive.
Thank you, Wayne. No, that was really good. And I think hopefully people get a real sense, Wayne, about how the chairs are bringing that knowledge about what's right and wrong from the sector. That's pragmatic. I think the really important focus here is it's knowledge that forms these standards. Then the independence of the auditors is really, really robust. I've noticed we're not getting many questions through, so I'm just going to highlight now. Please have a quick look at the questions and answers function. If you do have a question, do put it in there and we'll come back to that at the end. Okay, Jamie, let's move to the next poll, because obviously you're going to talk a little bit about the future and where things are. So hopefully everybody can see that poll and would like to start voting. So please get them buttons clicking and share the results. Okay, so quite interesting. We've got a few people who are quite keen and actually think that we should be putting commercial constraints on members, which is certainly quite an interesting point. I think we need to think about for the questions and answers towards the end. Also, do you know, and obviously look at TG20, is it an NASC? Yes, that's brilliant news. We have had quite a number of organisations said they didn't know that TG20 had been produced and the guidance. So that's quite a resounding confirmation. Should the focus stand on NASC standards? Again, quite interesting. The no, I'd welcome feedback from those that did say no in the questions about what you think we should be doing. Again, obviously Sophie's email address is available. If you do want to send in comments separately, please feel free, but I'd be quite intrigued to see what we should be focusing on about other NASC standards. And also, is there an equivalent? Interesting. Again, it's there's a view that there is, yes, an equivalent out there. That's, again, I think something we need to pick up, Jamie, in a moment, and we'll cover off at the Q&A. So brilliant, thank you. Jamie, over to you. Next slide as well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Interesting response on the polls there. 76% believe it should focus on NASC, the standards that NASC set. I think that kind of really goes into section 1 of my part of today's webinar, which is about the quality of scaffolding. We agree. It's been a long time where we've been auditing, certain things, and the audit process has really grown over the last, well, probably 10 years. I think it's fair to say. I was previously in a previous life membership manager, so have probably been responsible for speaking to all of you who are on today, hopefully getting you over the line into NASC membership. And in that time, we've really looked at what makes a good scaffolding company, what is the NASC grade, and it's not always been right. We've been using different methods to ascertain whether that is, whether you are a good employer, as well as a good scaffolding contractor. But we realize eventually that we do have the ability to go out and look at your scaffolding. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. That's what you're here for. That's what our independent compliance officers are there to do. They are scaffolding people. They are people that have been in the business, run their own companies formerly, or just provided consultancy services to the industry, and they want to be looking at scaffolding. You want us to be looking at scaffolding. So guess what? We're going to be looking at scaffolding. That's fundamentally what the audit is now all about, along with the other guidance notes that NASC produces. That's something the new charter looks at. It's about how you erect your scaffolds, but also how you prepare for the erection of scaffolds, how to make sure they're done safely. We have I'm not sure how many guidance notes, I think 200 to 300 NASC guidance notes, contractual, safety, technical, security, and environmental guidance notes, and products as well. So, you know, our auditors are going to be looking for more results on site, and they want to have more time on site as well, rather than be spending time in the office. And the time spent in the office previously was looking at things that would be uh, causing your company to get into possible financial difficulties. We're talking about, you know, how the members had to have a certain number of, you know, direct employed operatives, and how you run your business. Now, it's been said for a long period of time that that shouldn't really be NASC's focus. And as I said at the top, you're right, and we realize that, and we are now removing the commercial restraints, because that doesn't mean you are a good employer. You know, we did some market research, and we asked the members, we asked non-members, we asked general industry people how important things like how an NASC member employs their operatives, and the feedback was conclusive. It shouldn't really be a factor. So we are seeing now that the compliance officers are going to be spending more time on your sites looking at scaffolding, and things like PAYE, which, as Clive said, is the elephant in the room. You know, we have been looking at it for years, and we fluctuated between 90% directly employed, 75%. Then we decided to go with predominantly. But the view now with the new NASC boards that we have is that how to monitor a scaffolding company as a good employer, of how they operate from an employment point of view, is just quite archaic, really. We realize that, and that's why we removed it. So as long as you, the scaffolding company, employs operatives correctly and legally, and they're all onboarded the same way, as in they get the induction, they get the PPE, they get indoctrinated into the company's ethos. As long as you can demonstrate that to your compliance officer at the time of audit or application, then you'll be accepted. So really, we've removed the blunt testing of PAYE now, and I think that information is starting to get out there. We're seeing lots of applications come in, but let's get it straight. We're not reducing the quality of your audit, and in fact, if anything, we are actually making it tougher, because we're looking more at all the guidance notes that NASC produces, that you are working to them and incorporating them into your policies and procedures. We know that it's not necessarily the directors or the contracts managers or the senior people within the company. It's not down to them how they can employ operatives. If you say, well, I'm sorry, I want NASC membership, you're going to have to come on the cards, you know, they're going to say, no thanks, I'll go somewhere else. So it's unfair to penalize contracting companies who wanted to join the NASC but could never do so because of the PAYE thing. So hopefully that's given a bit more reason behind our changes, and you know, I think it will always be a continual review. We'll always be open to discussion on this particular topic at regional meetings and events like today. I see there's some questions coming in thick and fast now, so that's really good to see. Just moving on, PAS 91. I'm sure you're probably aware of PAS 91. It was set up decades ago. The government put it in place. It's a big questionnaire. I think it's sort of 6 or 7, 12 parts. It effectively forms SSIP and a lot of the schemes that are out there, like the CHAS and Construction Line and SMAS, etc., etc. But however, it might be good from a general construction and health and safety point of view. It's not scaffolding specific, so you can audit against PAS 91, and yes, there's going to be good things coming out of that. However, if you want to be audited against scaffolding by the people who actually put the guidance together and write it, then it's really only the NASC audit out there. And this kind of goes back to the 53% of you that thought there is, or thought that do believe that there is an equivalent to the NASC audit. There isn't. Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. Prove that there is something out there that's equivalent to the NASC, and that's just a genuine, really question that I ask for you to engage with us on. Tell us that we're wrong. Show us what alternative there is to the NASC, because really there isn't. The paperwork side of things, that kind of goes back to PAS 91. There are things there that PAS 91 will require you to have, and you should have them. You should have your RAMs, your risk assessments, etc. That clearly you need to operate to those. However, the legal requirements that you need to produce to the NASC audit, your VAT registration, your CITB registration, your employment liability, public liability, indemnity for your external consultants or designers. Those legal requirements are part of what the NASC look for, because that's what you need in order to be a reputable scaffolding company and to meet the standard of NASC.
I think it's really important though to focus in on that fundamental change around, obviously, the PAYE blunt test. It is a fundamental change, but it's one that is focused on the need to focus on the quality of scaffolding, the quality of the work. And we'll come on to some of the questions. We've had a few in via email, Jamie, so we'll pick up on those. But are you now going to take us through the marketing aspect of obviously the new changes we'll be doing?
Why not? So as you can see, I'm now the head of business development. There's been some changes internally in the NASC, and part of the business development team, we have Sophie, our marketing manager. We also have a few others that are going to be responsible for meeting the objectives of the NASC in 2024. We've started already client engagement with Build UK. We've attended meetings, webinars. We will continue to do so, and I think we're seeing some realization for the Build UK's sort of main contractors, members of Build UK, who are understanding more about NASC and how good we are actually. The National Federation of Builders and the Scottish Builders Federation as well, that they're now on board with NASC. They will be stipulating that you must be working to NASC, or sorry, but beg pardon, it must be NASC as part of our campaign that we're running, which I'm sure you've seen. It has to be NASC. So things like that happening all the time. That's just really the tip of the iceberg. There'll be lots more coming. So watch this space from that point of view. We are investing in pay-per-click advertising. When you type in any words relating to scaffolding, access, you name it, NASC is going to be more prominent through our pay-per-click advertising campaign. Equally, social media I think we are pretty good on social media. We've got LinkedIn, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, sorry, X now, beg your pardon. And we also, there are other channels out there. There are other platforms. TikTok is a great place to be for young individuals, scaffolders. So this would be a very particular message that we would put on channels like that. We continue to do YouTube videos, webinars, etc. like that. Digital advertising, there'll be more campaigns in 2024. You'll see more prominence from us. Will be our events that we'll be running, any particular campaigns, any messages, new guidance notes, videos that will all be coming in 2024 and beyond. We have a new business development manager. His name is Phil Goddard. He started with us now, so he's raring to go. He's going to be going out there, putting the good message of the NASC out to main contractors, clients, to stipulate NASC only going forwards, as well as attract new members, invite them into the membership, get them over the line, producing more information like the tender quote leaflets, kind of really playing into the whole how to appoint scaffolding contractor, you know, why it should be NASC, and just doing lots more from that. So really exciting times internally in the NASC, and I think that 2024 you'll see us really ramp things up on our online presence.
Brilliant, Jamie. No, that's fantastic. Again, this is all about NASC now getting the message out there about the importance of its audit. Clients, certainly the feedback I've had from Build UK and the National Federation of Builders is very quite rightly resounding about the recognition of not only TG20 and all the guidance, 135 guidances that we produce, but also the auditing being a key way of ensuring that quality is there. I think one of the big things we've got to recognise, Jamie, Wayne, is that actually where we see QSs and varying other professionals within those organisations that are operating with clients that are actually questioning and saying that there are cheaper or other alternatives. The simple reality is, as long as they are an NASC member, that quality is consistent, and it's beholden on NASC in the future to really make sure that we communicate that. And that's where the tender quote leaflet, our business development manager, Phil, all the digital advertising and our networking engagement is really going to focus over the coming months and years in getting that message over. Right, let's turn to the questions and answers. And we have the next slide, please, Jamie. We've had a few email, and I've got a couple here. One starting with Jamie. Obviously, you've been membership manager for a number of years. With this change, what's going to be the biggest thing that you see being a benefit out of the new charter?
Well, I think just really, well, like I said, the quality of the scaffolding, and looking at that side of things is going to be the biggest change, improving what's on site. You know, the SPAYE is a big hurdle that's going to be removed. As I said, it doesn't make it watered down, but you know, things like the yard. You know, the yard has been responsible for lots of companies not being able to get over the line. You know, your structures do need to be designed, or certainly have a retrospective as built drawing provided. So I anticipate, I mean, what I've been seeing so far in as I still hold on to the former life that I lived, what I'm seeing is that the applications are coming thick and fast, and I think that the quality won't always be there, and I think we have to be mindful that it is about quality. At the end of the day, it's not just because we've removed one criteria. Not everyone's going to be able to meet our high standards. We must acknowledge that, but our compliance officers will do their utmost to hold your hand and mentor you to get you over the line to get to the right standards. And if you want to learn and you want to develop, then we are here for you. If you think you don't need to, and you're happy the way you're doing things, then good luck to you, but it won't be with the NASC.
Brilliant. No, thanks, Jamie. Taking one from the Q&A that we've received, have you changed the limit of employees on PAYE and your audit? ? Wayne, do you want to take this one?
The simple answer is yeah, we have changed it. And the reason we've changed it is the NASC in the past has focused on trying to audit against PAYE, on PAYE and non-PAYE. And as Jamie alluded to in his slide, we had it up to 90% at one time, and then during COVID, we dropped it to 75%. And then last year, we changed it to predominantly. And the reasons gone by why PAYE was always there is that when you subcontracted 5-10 years ago, I'd probably say more 10 years ago, is that there was a commercial advantage for anybody that or any company that didn't have directly employed labor. However, in the modern world we live in, and the way that contracts are given out, and the way that clients tell you a job's going to start, then it doesn't start, and then you've started something else, is that unfortunately the modern scaffolding company can't take PAYE to the same degree. And the issue with that is that by imposing a PAYE, we're basically shackling our members and making a commercial decision for them, hence the reason why that commercial decision was in there before. However, I think everybody would agree with me today, and I haven't had anybody in the last 18 months who's been banging on this drum that would agree that actually having non-PAYE staff is now actually cheaper. It's not. There is no commercial advantage to having non-PAYE staff, none whatsoever. And you need the flexibility in a business to be able to decide, as directors and owners of a company, what's good for your business. The NASC shouldn't be deciding that. What we want you to do as a business is actually sign up to the quality and the standards. And if you have non-PAYE staff, that does not make you a poor scaffolding contractor. It is such an old way of looking at things. So we've removed it. And to be quite frank, it was an absolute pain to audit against it, because some companies would actually not quite give us the truth, and our auditors weren't forensic accountants, and they were taking it on face value. And then you're having companies go, well, we know that they're not 100% PAYE or 90% PAYE. And I allude to the real facts of the case is, by having non-PAYE staff, as long as you abide by UK taxation law, is not a commercial advantage. And we shouldn't, as an organisation, be looking at it. It is a business decision that's your business that you should be making, and your directors and your co-owners should be making. We shouldn't be doing it as an organisation, and it's not. It's just not conducive to how the modern scaffolding company should look. So yes, it has changed. It changed dramatically in November 2022, and it sort of went unnoticed to it. And then this year, I keep coming back to the council, the NASC council. This is before Clive came, and there was a fear of the ravens at the Tower of London, that if the ravens flew away, the tower would fall down. And the fact here is that we need to modernise our thinking, and our modern way of thinking is, we need you to be nimble. We need you to make your own decisions and your own business decisions. We're interested in quality, quality, quality. And this now focuses our compliance auditors to actually do that. So hopefully that answers that one. Bit long, but
Wayne, great response. But I think there's one thing I'll just pick up on, and this is that we are not saying we don't recognise that direct employment is the way forward for a business. And I know one of the questions that has been raised, which I'll just pick up on, do we worry that it's going to reduce direct employment or reduce apprenticeship take-up? We stand by that direct employment is the route forward, and apprenticeships are a brilliant and extremely important way to ensure that you get talents and long-standing talents. And there's some great examples in just my short tenure with Inside NSC and meeting NSC's members, where apprenticeships are the leading way to create embedded individuals who will work for a long term within that organisation. That only comes from direct employment. However, I've had multiple organisations, as Wayne has said, that has needed to be nimble, that have needed to recruit, needed to be adaptable to the commercial environment. And that must allow for flexibility around the PAYE test, which was a blunt, simple test, which we wiped away. Coming back to a question that's come online, this actually is really more a statement, not a question, but I think it's one that's quite important. And Jamie, I think I'd like to put this to you. I won't read it out because it is quite long, but fundamentally it's talking about another organisation's audit processes that are out there, and that obviously that other organisation points to NASC standards, and that ultimately those clients that are seeing that need to ultimately be recognised in a better way, that it's the NASC standards that are the underpinning measure. Any thoughts, Jamie, around that question?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair statement, stroke question that's come in. We're aware, we get phone calls to say, oh, what's the difference between the NAC audit and the Scaffolding Association audit process? And we kind of touched upon it with the PAS 91. I mean, there's looking at PAS 91, and that's obviously very good for general construction activities. But when it comes to actual scaffolding contractors, the only way to verify whether they're doing things correctly is that having the NASC, the people who wrote the guidance notes, are the ones who do the actual review and assessing. Really, you know, I'm the greatest footballer in the world, but you know, I haven't got a Ballon d'Or next to my name. You know, it's in order to show that you are the best, you need to be awarded by the body. So there is similar organizations that have an audit, they're involved in scaffolding, but when you really pick it apart, and I think that's what this person's saying, really, that it's the clients out there that we need to be better at showing and really kind of easily showcasing what the NASC does compared to anybody else, whoever they are. And we will be addressing that in 2024 a lot better than we've ever done before.
Brilliant, thanks, Jamie. And I think this comes back to clarity. Certainly, in experience of working with with Build UK's Procurement Directors Committee, where the top 20 construction companies meet and talk about challenges within their supply chains. We, NASC and other trade bodies, are now highlighting the importance of standards. Other trade bodies in the construction sector obviously have things like competent person schemes and other standards. Guess what? NASC actually has NASC standards, and it's been something that I've been at pains to promote to the procurement directors. Actually, that the 25+ years of improved safety demonstrated by our safety report, the reduction of RIDDers. I mean, the RIDDOR numbers have been in single digits and very low, so into the 1s and 2s with NASC members in the past years. That has directly come from the understanding of the quality of the standards that we then audit against, and that must be emphasised to the clients. Why? Because ultimately, having some other audit that comes from it is superfluous. The only audit that is of value is one that comes from NASC auditors, which I think takes me nicely onto the penultimate question that we've got for today. How will we demonstrate that auditors will be technically competent to audit and inspect system scaffolding, i.e. will they be a minimum of advanced system scaffolding inspector, and will they be trained in temporary works to BS 5975? Wayne, do you want to take this one? And I'd like to chip in as well after yourself.
Yeah. So the auditors at the moment are all scaffolding inspectors, advanced scaffolding inspectors, and they have systems scaffolding within that as well. And we are looking at different ways of bringing auditors within the NASC for areas where we find it difficult, because our independent auditors at the moment are independent. That means that some of them will have their own business, and their own business will be doing something similar to the general wider public. It needs to be said as well, as part of the criteria for our auditors, our compliance officers, is that none of them can audit a business that they do work for. So if we find that, we do use a different one in a different area. So if they've worked with that business before, they can't then audit them on behalf of the NASC. So that's really important, and it brings that independence again. So we're looking at a few of ours. Auditors as well are trained to do CAS assessments and SIP assessments as well. So it's SIP assessments at the moment, and we're always looking at bringing in new things, and that's why the committee sits there with the regional chairs and the NASC staff, that when now system scaffolding is becoming more prevalent within the UK, and the courses are available, because an advanced system scaffolding inspector course aren't widely available. I know that myself, because we use a lot of systems, and it's coming on board more and more in the last few years, that we will be able to take up these standards, because that's what they'll be checking when they go out to audit members. So hopefully that answers that.
Brilliant, Wayne. No, thank you. It does. I think the one added thing I would put in, NASC is committed now in early part of 2024 to be 9001 UCAS accredited, and part of us building the quality standards so that there is credibility and transparency in the audit process, is setting the standards of our auditors. I'm really positive around where we will be moving towards CAS and SSIP. We already make SSIP available as a no-cost additional for members, which is really quite amazing that we've actually allowed for compliance to be included. If we can move towards CAS equally, that will be fantastic. But with that, we've got to also adjust and improve the potential standards of the auditors and making sure that that's very well documented. Okay, that concludes all the questions that we've got. I hope everybody's enjoyed today's webinar. I hope all of the answers have met with your expectations. If you have got any that suddenly pop into your mind in the coming days, please, if you email Sophie, you should have her email address in the joining instructions today. We have got a poll now, which we're just going to run for those that may want to follow up. And that's so that if you do have any further questions or you'd like somebody to actually have a full meeting with you, please just click now and we will follow up with you. Or for a lot of no's, well, that means our webinar's been fantastic. We've got a yes, brilliant. Brilliant. We will follow up those shortly. So we've got 3 that would like to follow up and 14 that have said no. So brilliant. And I hope you found today informative. There will be a recording made available after. Again, please follow your email and see the leads. And if you couldn't attend, please, again, do reach out to Sophie on email, and we look forward to answering your questions. Thanks again for coming today, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.